Basic head bob. Ready, go.
Is Ed like sitting in the corner or something? What was his guest today? The Blair Witch? Alright, it's 1:30. Bradshaw with you here on a gorgeous Thursday afternoon in the capital city. We're trying to not give people vertigo or something. Don't move the camera while it's on. All right. Phone number is 244-0077. All are welcome. Some are even capable. Email, my preferred method of communication, radiobradshaw@gmail.com. Or follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw. Just go to thebradshawshow.com. It's got everything. You need links to the archives. If you just want the audio, want to, Bluetooth to the car stereo, we can get that taken care of as well. Thebradshawshow.com. Available on internets worldwide. This will be a fun day. More of the right-wing freak out. I have called Republicans babies for years. For all the talk of machismo and gun ownership. At the slightest perceived insult, it's clutch the pearls, faint on the couch, and in a couple of cases, literally throw a child-style tantrum. And, once you move past the guy, I'm still trying to understand this. Talking with my buddy in the Keys yesterday. A gay salon owner. Duval Street is like the party. It's like Ybor City or the French Quarter. Duval Street's like party town in Key West, right? And literally killed himself and wrote F Obama on his body. There was the woman who ran over her husband out of anger. The 600,000+ signatures for secession. As much as I enjoy a good right-wing freakout, I guess these are people, truly showing how much they love their country. Except for everyone in it. There are some, less deadly ways people are freaking out. We'll talk about those. The war on Christmas has begun. I don't know how to tell you. The war on Christmas, this is that kind of, again, wedge issue, culture warrior, right-wing crap that is, for the most part, in the case of the Vanderplatzes, and a fundraising tool for, O'Reilly viewers and Fox fans. It's just another one of those, look how they are coming to get you. But I remember the episode, well, there was a few episodes in Star Trek where it would be Kirk up against a supercomputer. This is a device they used a few times in the original series. And you would tell, everything I say to you is a lie. And the computer, can't parse that logically and shuts down. This may be a case of that, and I'll explain later. First, Mitt Romney really is the gift that keeps on giving while talking about gifts. In this case, a conference call with donors. Not really sure why that. Does Romney campaign have a large debt to retire? I have no idea. Said he was disappointed. It was a disappointing result. Really, you think? Neither his nor his top aides had expected. That's a little scary part. And again, I don't know if this is a case of just surrounding yourself with yes men. I know rich and powerful people surrounding themselves with people who say, what a great idea that is, boss. It's unprecedented in the world. Or I guess if someone could give me some evidence, I would almost be willing to accept I'm open to the argument that, again, you spend 6 years of your life running for president. You fall short in your first attempt. You win the nomination in your second, and then, it's an all-out dead sprint. It's all-consuming. Your life is campaign plane, hotel appearance, for months and months on end. I'd almost be willing to accept an argument that in that bubble, like, if you accept negativity, you can't do it. When that last month of campaigning, how do you push yourself when it's a lost cause? I like to call this September baseball with the Chicago Cubs. So I'm open to that idea, but for the most part, I think it's a group think. No bad news is allowed up the chain. Less disastrous, but the same sort of mentality that went into the Iraq War. Negative news not allowed past this point. Again, that's all fine and dandy and boilerplate. But then Romney said his team ran a superb campaign with no drama. And attributed Obama's victory to the gifts the administration has given to blacks, Hispanics, and young voters during Obama's first term. Romney argued that Obama had been very generous to blacks, Hispanic, and young voters. Cited as motivating factors to young voters, the administration's plan for partial forgiveness of college loan interest and the extension of health care coverage for students on their parents' insurance plans as well as into their 20s. Free contraceptive coverage under Obamacare's health care plan. Added extra incentive for college-age women to back the president. The president's campaign focused on giving targeted groups a big gift, so he made a big effort on small things. And Romney's not the only one to take this route, but certainly he's the highest caliber. It was a small, petty election. We won on the big issues. He said, our strategy worked well with many people, but for those who were given a specific gift, if you will, our strategy did not work terribly well. It's almost like if you make people's lives better, they'll vote for you. This is a concept that eludes Republicans. I'm still waiting for my gift. I assume it's been delayed like my George Soros check. I'm registered at ThinkGeek if anyone from the Obama campaign wants to, send a gift of some sort. I do like the fact that he points out, he'd given gifts to blacks and Hispanics. How would you explain then the win of Iowa, where there were a bunch of white people, like almost uniformly white, scarily white? Again, this isn't the first time Romney's spin hasn't quite matched up with reality, but I've never given Republicans much credit for living in the reality-based community in the first place. But it's nice to see Mitt, for all his flaws, finally taking a position like the 47% tape and sticking with it. So I guess kudos on that front. The bad news, the badder news. I think the bad news pinnacle is you lose. Good day, sir. The badder news is that unlike like John McCain or a Bob Dole or typical failed Republican presidential candidate, McCain can lose, but he's still a relatively powerful and influential U.S. senator with a backlog of historical work. Bob Dole had a long and distinguished career. Mitt Romney doesn't have those deep party ties. And in the world of politics, when you don't have those ties, when people don't have to deal with you in the future, and maybe you're not all that well respected, the first thing, say, an ambitious politician is going to do is run a bus over you. And the first out of the chute was Bobby Jindal. You may remember Bobby the Jindal from his time as governor of Louisiana, performing exorcisms. I'm not making a joke. He actually took part in an exorcism. Would this make American Horror Story then, like a campaign contribution in kind? I don't know. I could nickname him Bloody Face. Anyway, neither here nor there. Bobby Jindal was expected to be part of the Republican class of 2012 until he was picked to give the Republican response to the State of the Union. And reminded entirely too many people of Kenneth the Page from 30 Rock. A charismaless, is that a word? It is now. Speech. That I guess my favorite part was when he mocked government spending for volcano monitoring. A few weeks before volcanic activity shut down an oil refinery in Alaska, causing any number of problems. Like, maybe there's some value to this volcano monitoring you guys are making fun of. Again, Jindal was one of the guys who was here, days after the '08 elections, getting ready for 2012, but derailed a bit. And is now set to take the helm of the Republican Governors Association. You remember them from some of their greatest hits, like asking for work waivers and welfare requirements that when Obama would grant, of course, they went crazy over. So he's set to become the head of the Republican Governors Association, and with their yearly meeting going on, he was asked a few questions and was asked about Mitt Romney's comments about giving gifts to minorities and sluts. And it was Jindal said, no, that's absolutely wrong. 2 points on that. One, we have to stop dividing the American voters. We need to go after 100% of the vote, not 53%. We need to go after every single vote. All right, boilerplate. Secondly, we need to continue to show how our policies help every voter out there achieve the American dream, which is to be in the middle class, which is to be able to give their children opportunity to get a great education. So I absolutely reject that notion, that description. I think it's absolutely wrong. And this is a beautiful case of two people on opposing sides, both being horribly wrong. I guess you would call this now par for the course in GOP land. Again, I think it's rich. And I guess in the Republican, Mitt Romneyite worldview, things like health care are gifts. But a 20% tax cut, that's divine right. Corporate tax breaks. Saw this on Bleeding Heartland, an article talking about how farmers vote Republican but love Democratic plans. Now, I just label that as simple FYIGM. Like, the only moral socialism is my socialism. Obama phones are horrible. Farm subsidies are great. And, a backbone of America. That FYIGM, bleep you, I got mine, mentality that is pretty much at the heart of, what's left of the Republican movement. Whether it's, the Southern strategy. Remember when Rick Santorum didn't want to make people's lives better? Again, even, crappy people who live in red states need someone to look down on. Don't forget Bobby Jindal's Louisiana, one of the premier destinations for that 47%. We pump, as a nation, far more money into Louisiana than they give back. You can argue with the math all you want. So I could see, in an effort to soften that Republican image, throwing Romney under the bus, but to say, we just didn't deliver our message well enough. What is that message? That destroying the social safety net? Turning Medicare into a voucher program? Cutting taxes for corporations? That's the model that's going to get us to where we want to go? Although anytime Jindal does come, I do like to take the opportunity to talk about, again, what is life like in Bobby Jindal's world? He wants to run for president. Why else would you throw Mitt Romney so casually under the bus so quickly? Maybe the best example is what Bobby Jindal has done to the education system in Louisiana. Not exactly a pinnacle of learning in the first place. They decided in Louisiana to open the doors pretty much to all comers when it comes to who'd like to open up a school. And as far as testing standards, yeah, we're going to grade you, but no matter what you get, you're going to get to keep your money. You're going to get to keep going forward. Now, maybe this is a chicken and the egg problem, but you have a lot of less than qualified people from the religious side seeing the government coffers open, and they decided to pull a Chuck Hurley. So what you have is a lot of pastors, preachers, and the like opening up schools. Now, one thing that pesky First Amendment did, when you open up religious schools, you open them up to everyone. When an Islamic group decided to try to go the same route as many of their Christian brethren, for some reason that wasn't taken all that well, and you had a lot of state representatives and the like kind of losing their minds over the idea that in the same way, Pastor Holy Rollers, Church of Bob Jones University-ish is going to open a grade school. Apparently, they were upset that there would be potentially madrasas in their state. So I guess a group of people who actually care about educating children more than, again, feeding at the government trough decided to look into what Bobby Jindal is, allowing to be taught in Louisiana schools. Groups like Abeka Books, Bob Jones University actually makes text, or a group called Accelerated Christian Education. And these are some of the topics in their textbooks. Science proves homosexuality is a learned behavior. The second law of thermodynamics disproves evolution. No transitional fossils exist. A Japanese whaling boat found a dinosaur, and solar fusion is a myth. In addition, these are some of the facts presented in Louisiana textbooks. Only 10% of Africans can read or write because Christian mission schools have been shut down by communists. The Ku Klux Klan, in some areas of the country, tried to be a means of reform, fighting a decline in morality and using the symbol of the cross. In some communities, it received a certain respectability as it worked with politicians. God used the Trail of Tears to bring many Indians to Christ. The Great Depression was exaggerated by propagandists, including John Steinbeck, to advance a socialist agenda. Bill Clinton's 1992 presidential win was due to an imaginary economic crisis created by the media. And of course, because you have to teach science as well. The greatest struggle of all time, the Battle of Armageddon, will occur in the Middle East when Christ returns to set up his kingdom on earth. This is Louisiana school curriculum that you and I are helping pay for. That's life in a Republican world. That's life in Bobby Jindal's, little fiefdom. So good luck running him in 2016. You might need another exorcism. Yeah, not just on the national, even on the state front. Kind of talked about this yesterday, that somewhere someone needs to find me one of those sore loserman signs that Republicans were all about in 2000, 2001. As the recount and the Brooks Brothers riot went on down in Florida, because I think we have a case here at the State House. Our own Terry Branstad, long a Romney supporter, not taking the Obama victory well, and probably feeling a little bit of embarrassment that he could not help deliver the state to Team Romney. He has a bit of a sad one, that Obamacare is the law of the land moving forward. And you would think after the Supreme Court upheld Obamacare, at least in a worst-case scenario, part of Obamacare is each state has the ability to set up its own insurance exchange. All right? As long as you meet minimum standards, you can set it up in your own way. You have, control in that area. And if you don't, you will just go into the federal exchange like every other state. I mean, I honestly think Branstad was enough in the bubble, thinking there was no way that Romney, could lose. There was no way Democrats could keep the majority in the Senate. We're just going to bank on repeal so that we don't have to do anything. Oops. So now, deadlines quickly approaching. I don't even think the state of Iowa has started. I know Jack Hatch proposed, let's get this thing done. Which, of course, Branstad. Again, I understand. Branstad doesn't really like governing at all. He has a little wannabe tin pot dictator in him. And again, this goes back to his first stint as governor. Loves decrees, right? He loves getting his way. But when it comes down to sitting down and working with people, not his strong point. So this is from the Register. Talking about Branstad. He doesn't think Obama's re-election was a referendum on Obamacare. That you didn't see any ads touting Obamacare, how great it was. I don't know, maybe Branstad should have gone to a few of the multitude of Obama appearances here in the state of Iowa where he touted Obamacare. And he touted its success. And funny thing, again, in 2010, when Republicans ran hard against Obamacare, and Democrats taking the Boswell route, demurred, didn't really defend it, didn't want to talk about it. And that changed in 2012. As soon as Obama took the lead, it's that bully pulpit the president has. Magically, Democrats start touting the benefits of the plan, the improvements that are coming. And lo and behold, what do you see? Well, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, the lowest support for repeal of the Affordable Care Act ever. So what you see now is, when asked, do you want to expand or keep the law as is, repeal and replace, or just repeal? Guess which one's ahead? And again, this is something that I've argued for years. Pollsters were and I have a feeling this is intentional, would ask if you're unhappy with the law, and you would get a lot of agreement with that. The problem is that question alone, includes people like me. I want it to go further. I am, a universal single-payer advocate. At the very least, I think a public option should have been part of the plan. But when you ask the question this way, magically, the opposition to Obamacare evaporates. It's almost like if you tell people what you're going to do it, and then tell them you did it, they'll reward you for it if it's something that they like. Novel concept. But again, Branstad living in the bubble, he lives in a world where Democrats are still in 2010 for some reason running away from Obamacare. If you analyze this, it's a tribute to the community organizer and campaigner-in-chief. He has a terrible record. He knew he couldn't run on it. And they ran a very effective campaign, really, if you look at the nuts and the bolts. They didn't win on issues. And this is the problem of actual serious people with actual responsibilities living in that bubble. How is Governor Branstad supposed to, deal with real issues? When reality isn't allowed within 100 yards of his location. Should scare the hell out of, even conservatives should be like, wait a minute. You're giving me, platitudes and talking points. That's how you're going to react to, the situation on the ground? But again, it's classic Branstad. Even, Branstad said, if Romney had won, I think there would have been a mandate for change. Yes, but he didn't. And Republicans didn't win the state Senate back. And Republicans didn't win the Senate. So what does that tell you, Governor Branstad? Well, actually, strike that. That is an irrelevant question because it's going to tell him whatever he wants it to tell him. The question is, what should it tell him? And what are the odds he actually gets that message? Ron, welcome.
Yeah, how you doing today, Bradshaw?
Not too bad.
I got a question for you.
42.
Yeah. Why do you think the Republicans were so confident of winning when the math never moved on them for the whole campaign?
The bubble. Mitt Romney never took the lead.
Right.
But hold on. If you pick and choose the information that makes it up the stovepipe, remember that term? Then you can pretty much paint whatever picture you would like. If you believe that somehow the non-Caucasians who voted in 2008 were swept away in some sort of Parliament Funkadelic mothership rapture, then Republicans, unskewed polls, make perfect sense. If you believe that there hasn't been a fundamental shift in the electorate, then their numbers make perfect sense. But when you accept reality, the Republicans made the mistake, starting really in 2010, of believing their own BS. Start internalizing the talking points that are generated to convince outsiders and others. And it's the most dangerous thing you can do in politics. And they truly believed in 2010, in the midst of, again, the worst economic meltdown since the Great Depression. Congress with horrible approval ratings. What was actually a throw the bums out election, which, yes, hit Democrats very hard. Why? Because we had just won 2 wave elections in a row, and we had a lot more, pardon the term, bums to throw out than they did. Where even, kooks and completely whacked out characters were winning in these elections. Pretty much anyone this side of Christine O'Donnell could walk away with a House seat.
Do you think that even the pros, the real political professionals, were they faking it because the rank and file thought there was going to be a win, or the professionals,
the pundits, the talking heads, and we're seeing little mea culpas slip through, like Dick Morris. And I don't know whether this was intentional or not, said, hey, the chips were down, and we thought this was the message we needed to send. I think the spinmeisters knew that they were spinning. But I when it comes from almost all corners of the Romney camp, saying they were caught completely off guard. They went into Election Day thinking they had it in the bag, that they were going to, moonwalk to victory. And that comes, both from Romney advisors, Paul Ryan himself. I'm tempted to take them at their word. That's life inside
they were
the bubble. And remember, Paul Ryan's supposed to be the numbers guy, right? And Mitt Romney is supposed to be the data guy. What does that tell you?
Gingrich is supposed to be the intellectual, and he's reported to be entirely flummoxed as to what happened.
Well, again, Newt Gingrich is what a stupid person thinks a smart person sounds like. That's really the beginning, middle, and end of Newt Gingrich, unless you're going to marry him. And odds are, 2/3 of the women in this country will at some point. But as far as life on the public stage, he is what a stupid person thinks a smart person sounds like. Which I find funny coming from a party that seems to demonize smart people.
Well, this is how significant this win is for Obama, because the Republicans, Romney, he lost against an incumbent who was sitting and is sitting on basically an 8% unemployment rate. He had his party and his auxiliaries working on voter suppression in all the swing states.
Yeah, whether it's Matt Schultz or the Secretary of State in Ohio or down in Florida, where even the governor was getting in on the action.
And certainly the Romney people and the Republicans had more money than anyone can even count, and they still lost. That's phenomenal.
I mean, for as long as wrong as Lindsey Graham is, say, on Susan Rice, I don't know, this is a broken clock, but, he says we're not making enough angry white men. I think what we've seen is the end of the Southern strategy. I think for all the efforts, again, Rick Santorum, blah people, or, even Mitt Romney saying, oh, you know what? We just gave Obama gave too many gifts to sluts and blacks. In Ohio, the Obama phone ad was running, which, again, you understand anything pretty much Republicans claim to hate was something that Reagan did, and that was a program that started under Reagan. Because even Republicans back in the 80s understood that without a phone, it makes it a little harder to get a job.
Well, you understand that the Republican Party, they may talk about how they need to take Latinos, the Latino vote more seriously, but the bottom line is, a long time ago, they swallowed the racist bug. And this isn't just a matter of we need to retool to be more sensitive towards minorities. Racism has become wedded onto the spine of the contemporary Republican Party, and it ain't going away.
And you know what? This is something that Democrats, at least those with a grasp of history, should understand very well, because it's the same plague that we rid ourselves of. From the Civil War to the 1960s, hey, if you were a racist, if you were a segregationist, you were a Democrat.
Yep.
And starting in the 1940s and continuing through till finally, passing the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act, it was a long process to purge that from our party. And I guess, lucky for the racists, they found another willing host. Guys like Hannity love to, kind of say, oh, look at their history. Democrats are the party of racism. True. But when we purged them, Sean, where did they go? Where did they end up?
It's no secret why the Republicans run the House, because a House representative, if you can manage your district to be fairly homogenous, Steve King can win. All right.
Yeah. Look, Republican. This isn't a value judgment. It just simply is. Look, if you win a 2000 or a 2010 election, especially in the statewide level, you're going to control the redistricting process that happens every time we have a census. Republicans' big win in 2010 allowed them to rewrite maps. I guess in cases of states not under the jurisdiction of the Voting Rights Act, free and clear. States like Texas had a few issues with the Department of Justice, but again, you have control over it. I'm not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong. Everybody does it, and they did it, and they did it very well. And it's going to help protect the House of Representatives for them for the next, 8 years. They control the maps. Democrats actually got more House votes than Republicans. Doesn't get talked about much in the land of the mandates. So even Republicans with a 40-seat majority got fewer votes than Democrats.
But it's not going to work like that. You can't work it like that if you're a Republican for the Senate or for the presidency, because you're dealing with whole populations.
Dealing with an entire state and dealing with an entire nation.
Right.
There's simply, not wait till, and the big break really is going to be, 2020. And I know, people have a hard time looking forward to, what's after dinner tonight.
I can tell you right now what's the loser message for the Republicans. I don't know if they're going to really take this seriously. When your big campaign idea is we hate half the country, you're really not going to do all that well. You're just not.
Well, even then backing it up post-election, you have, the true intellectual leaders of the Republican Party, like Rush Limbaugh, out, calling Obama Santa Claus, kind of fitting in exactly with what their candidate said yesterday to donors. And again, these are words that pain me to say. But you should listen to Frank Luntz. And again, these are not words that normally come out of my mouth. You should listen to Frank Luntz when he says, conservatives, Republicans should be incredibly upset with their kind of entertainment / information infrastructure, that, complex that they've built through right-wing media, everything, from Newsmax all the way to Fox News. And they should be mad as hell that these people have been blowing smoke up their heinies for years. They were absolutely, feeding them BS all through this election cycle, telling them what they wanted to hear in an attempt to appease a very inflamed and very inflammable, base. And if I was a Fox News viewer and I've been lied to for months, I'd be ticked off about it. I just don't know if conservatives in 2012 have that ability left in them.
Well, the funniest thing is the use of Ronald Reagan as their spiritual mascot, because one thing Ronald Reagan knew for sure, you don't get elected if you tell half the people of the country you hate them.
Oh, no. I mean, Reagan was a virtual artist when it came to, the whole welfare queen. That was the Reagan administration. It was Lee Atwater that sat down with the New York Times, and laid out the Southern strategy. And they had used it masterfully.
it was always in a way that Reagan personally came off as a likable guy.
Well, he was a great actor. Well, maybe not great, but as far as politicians go, he was a very good actor.
And he allowed enough Democrats, hence the category of voters called Reagan Democrats. They liked him. When you like people, you tend to give them the benefit of the doubt. And meanwhile, Romney couldn't even get his own voters to like him.
No, I mean, again, they try to deify Reagan because he's the only Republican, in memory. You have to go back to Eisenhower, which is an ancient history. Are you going to pick Nixon? A little bit of a smudge mark on the record there. Ford's a nothing burger. The first George W. Bush, had the charisma of this table. The second George W. Bush is, George W. Bush. So who else are you going to pick? It's literally, he's the only Republican open to them. So we're going to ignore the entirety of his record in reality, and we're going to create, this golden Republican calf that we are all going to worship at the altar of. And the beauty of these golden calves is because it can represent absolutely anything.
Well, you and I said months ago, Romney was the best of a bad bunch, and even he wasn't going to cut it.
No, it wasn't even close. But he really, you were going to get the closest election with Romney, because I would have loved nothing more than the entertainment value of a Rick Santorum or a Sky Admiral Bachmann nomination, because you're heading into Mondale territory at that point. And as much as I would like to see that, and it would certainly pick up the pace of this Republican Civil War we're about to enjoy, I don't know if the country necessarily needs that. But anyway, Ron, I appreciate the call. I got to scoot, because when we come back, Mac sits down with me. I talk a little bit about this, and who knows what else. It's the old, we all remember Mac's World, right? For some of us, those are kind of painted memories. But Mac joins me for the next half hour when we return here on The Bradshaw Show. Email me, radiobradshaw@gmail.com, and follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw, or just go to thebradshawshow.com. It's got links to everything you need right there. Short break, back with Mac right after this. Thanks for watching here on Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I'm administrative manager.
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, it's got to be, it's your home.
It's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
If you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now, and then leave, and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
It's time to start.
Rock concert movement number 1. The basic head bob. Ready, go.
All right, 216 Bradshaw with you here on an absolutely gorgeous Thursday afternoon in the capital city. Is this like our version of Indian summer? Like how long is this nice weather supposed to last? All right, I was almost.
Are you complaining?
No, I'm not complaining at all.
Don't complain about the good
I
weather.
just, you know,
You can
again,
leave.
unlike many modern day conservatives, I like to know, you know, what things are actually like. In fact, it looks like, 60s, 50s.
I'm just
at least
saying,
through the 10-day forecast.
If you're complaining about the weather, you can go secede with some other state.
I have no interest in complaining about the weather. It is great, and I have nothing but love. So, Ed Wilson, I don't. Maybe this is just the death of the weather beacon has released good weather through central Iowa.
Maybe.
Wasn't even that nasty on Saturday or on Sunday when it was supposed to be like ugly and icy, and it really wasn't that bad. So, the weather beacon's loss is our gain. All right, you got your headphone situation. Is that box just simply not working?
No, I think it's. I think for some reason my high-end specialty headphones don't work in that. Because I hear you wonderfully now.
Okay.
We
Well,
lost the election. The
Are you feeling better? Are you feeling?
quit.
Are you feeling all right? There have been a number of freakouts.
I'm okay. I have to admit to you, on Wednesday I was very surreal. I was just kind of numb. I just, I really thought we had a chance.
Now, have a chance is one thing. What I'm hearing, just from conservatives themselves, is that they had no idea that this was coming, and it took them completely. It came completely out of left field, and
Yeah, and I'd like to know, if the Karl Roves of the world would quietly and behind the scenes just whisper in my ear, "We knew it. We just weren't going to say it."
well, of course they knew it.
Well,
I mean,
we don't know that. We don't know that.
we do. I mean, now again, they probably weren't, as down 6 months ago as I was up, and they probably weren't as consistent. But looking at, and again, the list of states, I think a lot of people focused on the national horse race numbers. Like, nationally, look at these numbers.
Yeah, I don't.
But those are irrelevant as long as the Electoral College
Yeah.
exists.
I truly believe something that David Shedlock told me, and that is that polls are false prophets. There's just no way to believe in them.
Then how do guys like Nate Silver or the groups like Princeton?
That's it's all guesswork.
Public
Andy.
policy but
It's all guesswork.
how are they consistently guessing right?
Well, but some people are consistently guessing right about other things. I mean, obviously there are some facts and figures that went behind the president's winning, and I'm a person who doesn't get offended very easily because I think offense for me.
As someone who has offended you a great number of times, I'm confused by this statement.
Well, I try not to be offended anymore. because I realized that's a state of my mind, not of yours. And I also realized that it is a tactic used in bailing out of a conversation that you're losing. But whatever word you want to put, Romney's statement yesterday about gifts and things like that the Obama administration gave to different groups to buy their votes, I didn't need to hear that from him. I'm sure there's some truth to it because I'm sure there's some truth on both sides of the alley. But for him to come out at this point and say this is why, he thinks he lost the race, I think is an insult to the American people.
Well, I think it's more an insight into a worldview.
Mm-hmm.
An article I talked about earlier. Farmers, all right, vote
like
Republican.
Bum.
No, like the people who put things in the dirt and then pull it back out.
Mr. Green.
Vote Republican, but love these Democratic programs. And again, in Mitt Romney's world, offering Obamacare, keeping people under the age of 26, or making, and again, Republicans focused on the contraceptives, but just preventative care is copay, deductible free now, because long term it saves far more money. So preventative medicine becomes less expensive, and there's more incentive to do it. But I think it's a worldview issue, because in Mitt Romney's world, that's a handout, that's a gift. In Rush Limbaugh's world, Obama is Santa Claus.
In my world, he is too.
But when Romney comes and offers a 20%, tax cut across the board, when groups like Wells Fargo receive tax deferrals, or we build Jordan Creek Mall, or even farm subsidies and highway bills, that's just seen as the natural order of things.
Well,
so what I give is great, and what the other guy offers is a bribe, a gift,
and that's called politics.
Yeah, but I think
clearly
it exposes the worldview.
Well,
the guy who argues for drug tests for welfare recipients. Well, does that include the CEO of bailed out banks?
I think the reason that we lost the race was because we lost control of the narrative. And kudos to, I don't know, it's the wizard behind the curtain, whoever got the media to absolutely play into that narrative's hands.
What narrative?
Oh, my gosh. Well, first of all, we never talked about Obama's record. I mean, we just...
everyone talked about the unemployment rate. We followed it month by month. Conspiracy theories were made up of it. The debt and the deficit, I think, are false issues that get way more airtime than they deserve.
I'm a news hound, and at 5:30 and 6 every night, I am flashing between all the channels. And then when I get bored with the first 7 minutes of those, I go to Iowa Public Television and get the national news. The media did not talk about the tough issues that Obama failed on, the promises that he made that he didn't come through with. Immigration reform is one thing. He said anybody with a employment rate below whatever it was should not have a second term. That should have been played with a little bit. But we lost the election, and here's what hit me. So Wednesday is very surreal, and we move on. Yesterday, he has his first press conference in how many ever months. And when I shut off that press conference, I went, that's my president. Good job. Good job out of him. And I'm working real hard to not be so conservative.
Good move.
I don't want to... well, wait. Now I'm going to back up and say that again. To have my reactions be so conservative. I'm really tired of towing the line.
I don't think there's a whole lot conservative about conservatives these days. Whether it's calls for secession down in Georgia.
Yeah, those are the wingnuts. Come on.
No, I mean this is the Georgia GOP.
Yeah, but
even the Iowa GOP. I mean, Iowa's not exactly a wingnutty state. Has UN conspiracy theories as part of the party platform.
Well, there's a lot of things in party platforms on either one of our parties that we would disagree with. And I have said this. I know I've told you this before. The only thing that stops me from registering as an independent is the fact that you can't vote in primaries in Iowa as an independent. You have to be registered to one party or another.
What would it take for you, though, to go vote in a Democratic primary? You would never go vote for someone. You would go vote against someone, right?
Well, remember that I supported Chet Culver. We were on the air together when that happened. You know, Tom Coates to this day just laughs at me for that. I'm really not about party as much as I'm about worldview. And I agree with the majority of the worldview of the Republican Party, and I really strongly disagree with some of the worldview of the Democratic Party. So it makes it real easy for me to be one or the other. I'd rather be an independent, but I don't want to go play that game, you know, right around primary time where you go and change your affiliation, and then as soon as you vote, you change it back. I don't want to do that. And it's not lazy. It's character when the lights go out.
But when you look at again 06, 08, 2010, I think a lot of people took the absolute wrong message from. They saw a throw the bums out election as a mandate, and follow that up with 2012. Republican Party has some systemic issues
we do.
Have to be dealt with.
We do. We absolutely do. And I don't know if it's the season yet for the 21st century Republican Party to be born yet. We truly are not the same country that we were 50 or 60 years ago. The respect for the immigrant in this country is back, and I'm glad about that. I'm glad that Latinos are getting the respect that they deserve. I'm glad that Asians are getting the respect that they deserve. We're truly coming back to that 1875 to 1925 type of America when we are a melting pot. And too many
hold on, though. We weren't much of a melt. Remember, Irish need not apply? Like, that animosity towards the other.
Well, but
again, has always been there. And which group is considered the other?
Well, the other
went, from Irish, Italians, right. Germans.
The other in the 50s and 60s was the blacks, and the others in the 80s, a little bit of the late 70s and 80s, were Latino. And I have great Latino friends, and those Latinos that are plugged into the vision of their demographic and their what am I trying to say? Their worldview is to start being American and stop being Latino. And that doesn't mean that you don't have Latino festivals and all those things, but the powers to be within the Latino world are starting to say, we are Americans. We are Latino Americans, just like African Americans. It says where we're from, it's not who we are. And I think you're going to see more conservative-leaning Latinos coming out, Marco Rubio and many others, more conservative Latinos coming out, which will help round out the two different views that hopefully fit into one American worldview.
I think that idea, and it's not just you that throws it out there, is a loser. It's not just having someone on the ticket. That's the issue with the systemic problems. And you can go back and look at, a myriad of immigrant groups who have come to this nation, and they follow a pretty specific pattern, no matter the group and no matter what geographic location. But that first and second generation hold, real deep ties. It's not till third, fourth, where you see don't speak the mother tongue, have no interest in living in an ethnic enclave. A lot of big cities have we're Little Italy or a Chinatown.
We're getting to that third and fourth generation now, and
like we did with the Irish, like we did with Russians, like we did with the Chinese
and the African Americans.
That was a little different circumstance of coming to this country.
Well,
I could show you some movies.
No, I understand that, but I refuse to accept that in the year 2012, what drives the African American is the way they were treated in the 1800s. I'm just not interested in allowing that baggage to live rent free in America's
But that
head.
baggage lasted.
I know, but it's
even
over.
until the 1980s.
I know, but it's over.
It's not, though.
Yeah, well, but as a country,
I mean, we as white people, I don't think are qualified to say racism's over now. Congratulations,
no,
everyone.
as a country, racism is over. We have laws in place. We have black people. Well, what's the correct term? Colored, black? I don't know. Dark-skinned brothers? I don't know. I don't want to be politically incorrect, so I don't want to be offensive. But it's over with. Now, are there absolute idiots out there? Absolute idiots that still use.
So when Rick Santorum says he doesn't want to make blah's people's lives better, there's nothing racial about that.
He didn't want to make what?
Blah people is what he said that he said. He didn't want to make black people's lives better, and he caught himself.
Well, I'd have to see the context of that conversation to pull something individual out. But here's my point.
But even here post-election, Mitt Romney is saying blacks and Latinos were given gifts.
Okay, were they?
No.
Well, we don't know that.
Well, how do you win Iowa then?
We don't know the solariums. What was that company that went under?
Solyndra?
Yeah, we don't know how many of those that are out there that may be demographic.
What does that have to do with
skin
race?
color? Well, we know that the Obama administration, after their 2008 victory, took care, quote unquote, took care of their donors and those people that supported them. That's politics in America.
Every party does that. If there's something that you believe is outside the norm, though, that'd be interesting to...
Remember that I have a different kind of relationship with Mitt Romney than some people, and I don't tout it, but I also hold it high. And I don't think Mitt Romney says something like that unless he knows. I'll tell you what I think.
Again, I think it's a worldview problem. The stuff I offer is commonplace and normal, and the stuff other people get, it's the same way. Pork is never something that happens in your district or your state. Pork happens somewhere else.
I understand that the sky in your world is blue. I understand that. I can appreciate that. But I don't think a man like Mitt Romney makes a statement like that without having some proof or knowing that there were large amounts of money or other consideration given to groups to sway votes. Hey, come on. That's the Chicago way.
How about just...
That's the Chicago way.
Then what was Mitt Romney offering with tax cuts?
Well, I'm not saying it was any different.
But
that's
he's not
American
from Chicago.
politics. No, he's from Michigan. Get back to a point, though, that I think was interesting that we were talking about, please.
All right.
I don't believe that as a country, as a people, we are racist anymore. Do I believe there are individuals who are racist? Absolutely. There will always be individuals who manipulate and do terrible things to people because of the color of their skin, the way they talk, the way their eyes are formed, their religion. That's called bigotry. That's called racism. But as a country, as a people, we're not a racist country. We hold every law that we have, every Constitution amendment, everything in the Bill of Rights, everything in our housing, our employment, and now a president elected to a second term. I don't think we can say as a nation we're a racist nation.
And then look how a segment of our population, say the Donald Trumps of our country, reacted to our first African-American president.
Well, again, that's a person. That's not the people.
Then how
it didn't say we the person of the United States.
Then how come a majority, depending on which poll you look, of Republicans at one time or another believed that the president was not born in the United States?
Well, if you want to go down that rabbit trail, I'll go with you. But the president himself, in a book cover that he wrote and produced, said that he was Kenyan born.
Actually, he didn't write that.
Okay.
And
all right,
the press agent who wrote it said that Obama had nothing to do with it.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, it is.
No.
And we have his birth certificate. We have the short form, we have the long form, we have the state of Hawaii saying, here it is. We have the newspaper announcements from 1961.
Back up and look at everything from 30,000 feet. Every president has had the opposing party throwing things at them to demoralize them and make them seem less adequate and competent. I wish Monica Lewinsky had never happened, because it just proved what we already knew, but we still elected him twice, so why is it a big deal? So what if Jimmy Carter had a stupid brother named Billy and a mother who was a saint? Why did we go after that and attack and attack? What did it matter that George W. Bush, what was the claim, that his dad tried to get him out of the military or something, and yet he was a fighter pilot?
He did get him into the Texas Air National Guard.
Potato.
And, hey, he did great. The Viet Cong never attacked Houston, so kudos.
My point is, whether it's the birthers or whether it's the East Coast preppy snobs with Carter, whether it was the people who couldn't relate to Ronald Reagan because he was divorced and he was a movie star, that's always around from the opposition candidate from the the opposition to the winning candidate.
Watching Fox News on election night and everyone talking about how that Barack Obama had to be more like Bill Clinton, that he had to come to the center like Bill Clinton.
Well,
from a group that hated Bill Clinton when he was president, impeached the guy, claimed he was a murderer, a drug dealer.
Bill Clinton?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Whitewater?
No, I'm talking about the Clinton Chronicles. That was the Jerry Falwell.
Yeah. Well,
that was his version of that 2016 that got mailed out to voters in swing states.
Well,
making all these absurd claims
on the topic that we're a racist nation. I'm done with that talk. We've elected a black president twice.
And be careful how you answer that. Why is a young black man in this country more likely to go to prison than college? And don't answer that one rashly. It's ended a few careers.
Say it again. Why are there more black men in penitentiaries? Because they commit more crimes. It's simple. It doesn't matter the color of their skin. It's their worldview. I'm tired of looking at people from the color of their skin or where they come from or an education that they may or may not have. I look at people through their worldview, all right? And the worldview of too many people in this nation is, it's time for me to get mine. And I can be a rule breaker. It absolutely...
How's that different than the CEO of Citibank?
It may not be. But
then how come the CEO of Citibank, all right, is celebrated?
Because who runs the world?
The CEO of Wells Fargo.
Who runs the world? Money. That's the sinful nature of the world that we live in. We honor people who have money greater than we honor people who have need.
Well, and I think the argument is we don't really care how they got that money.
Well, I think we do. I don't think that's fair to say. I think there are enough people like you out there that get those people, that hold them accountable and that drive them into prisons or out of office or out of their job. But let me go back to one point. Help me understand, and this is kind of a rhetorical question. I don't understand how if I say the N-word, I'm the worst piece of scum that walks the earth. I'm a racist. I'm everything you call it.
I have to answer that question.
But a black person says it, and it's okay.
Why do you want to say it?
I don't. But I'm offended when I hear it because I know there are people who are offended by that word. Why do we use that word at all? We don't. They do. People do because they want to show they are entitled.
They are... The suppression of the word gives it the power.
Well, I can't hit my wife, and neither can you. Just because you own something, because your skin is that color, doesn't mean you can do something. Okay,
now for a very obvious reason, I'm not going to speak for black people in America. And this goes back, why isn't there a white entertainment television? Completely ignores the fact that the other 700 channels on your cable and satellite system cater to
the consumer,
middle class,
consumer,
white.
They cater
culture.
to the consumer.
Well, yeah, there's a lot more of us than there are.
It's not my fault that I have a job and that I work hard and that I recirculate that money
No
into
one's saying it's a fault, but understand
society.
There is a certain privilege of being the majority. No one.
Okay, but we're not the majority anymore.
We are. I mean, blacks make up about 12% of the population.
Okay, but
you never have to worry driving through Clive that you're going to get pulled over for driving while white.
No, but I can get pulled over with suspicion of alcohol. Okay,
Yeah.
We all carry our own thing. But after I got busted for DUI,
you're never going to get. Look, you're a normal-looking, middle-aged white male.
You really worked at getting to normal-looking, didn't you?
Do you want to inflate your ego, or set off anything? You're never going to get followed by store security because you look shifty. Well, you don't have to worry about being, in the wrong neighborhood past sundown.
Okay, let's jump ahead a little bit.
All right. What's
your point? And what's the solution?
Well, it's just simply understand that we have privilege. And that's what caught...
The law doesn't give us privilege.
No, society does.
Okay, who creates society?
Well, we do. And people with privilege like to hold on to it, which is why you've seen such a backlash, even to this day. Why are people going to try to strike the Voting Rights Act? That's going in front of the Supreme Court this year. Why do you have sitting senators saying that they wouldn't have supported the Civil Rights Act?
Well, I don't know.
Those with privilege tend to want to keep it and consider it normal.
Those are prideful, greedy people. And in the end, they're taken care of.
Well,
they're just shiny little objects on the stage for a moment.
Most of us
gone that long.
Are unaware of that privilege.
You live in that
privilege. We have. I do.
Okay, but have you?
I'm not ashamed of it. It is what it is. But you do a disservice to everyone else when you fail to recognize it or outright deny it.
Great talking point. What's the solution?
The solution is bigger than anything I can come up with. Well, I mean, you're talking literally about centuries.
Okay, I'll tell you what the solution was. Can I? Okay. It was the Equal Rights Amendment.
That never passed. Conservatives killed it. ERA?
Okay, then I'm sorry. I named the wrong thing. The fact that gave a person the same as anybody else, no matter what the color of their skin was.
Civil Rights Act.
Civil Rights Act. I'm sorry. You have a Civil Rights Act. You have within that act or just outside of that act that I can't turn down someone for my employment, to sell them something, to go into a church, a synagogue, a federal building because of the color of their skin. Okay, you have interracial marriages, which at a time in this country you were hung for.
Yeah, not that long ago. You're talking late 1960s.
You wanted to talk to me about progress. We also have a black president starting his second term. There's no more racism in America. Are there people who are racist? Yes. But we as a people are not racist.
Well, then how do we include all of those racists in? How do we...
we're a free country, Bradshaw.
The blah people.
We're a free country. We've already taken away way too many rights of people to speak about how they feel.
Who's had their rights to speak taken away?
Oh, my heavens. Yeah. Okay.
Who?
Every time we turn on the TV.
But no. I find that one fascinating because I think conservatives have a really warped view of the First Amendment.
Okay.
And I think that, again, this is the pearl-clutching, fainting couch crowd. Get very upset when anyone criticizes their speech. They seem to believe that the First Amendment allows anyone to say anything consequence-free. When Dr. Laura, had to go off the radio for going on an N-word rant.
Okay, and why? Right?
She said that she was going to satellite radio because they were attacking her First Amendment rights.
Okay, and they were.
She said a
word. She said a word
12 times.
I don't care.
Over and over and
she
over
said
and over
a word.
Again.
She said a word. And this country was founded on the fact that we could say a word.
You absolutely. No one's stopping Dr. Laura.
Yeah, they are. Is she able to do her job?
if she'd like.
No, you said she's off the radio.
She quit. She went over to satellite.
Okay.
Same way, when advertisers fled the Rush Limbaugh show. See, this is the beauty of the First Amendment. This is its genius, is that, yes, you can say absolutely anything you want. No one's going to stop you. No one's going to throw you in prison. But that doesn't mean it's consequence-free.
Then it really isn't a freedom. If it has a consequence to it, then it's not a freedom. It's an arrangement. You can think you have freedom to say anything except the list of these. And by the way, we reserve the right to add to these anytime we want. No,
but don't be surprised when people use their First Amendment rights
if I use
to speak out against it.
If I use the F-bomb on FCC-regulated terrestrial radio, I will be removed, fined, and probably never be able to be hired again. That's not freedom of speech.
Now, there's an area where I agree with you, but that's FCC.
But that's our government.
That's to use the public airwaves. And I would absolutely agree. And by the way, you would agree with me that those limitations have been weakened over the past.
I don't know. I know friends of mine have been threatened with fines of thousands and thousands of dollars. If you say the F-bomb, it's, what is it, $2,500 for every station you're on? And if you're
it's up to $300,000. This was in a reaction to Janet Jackson's nipple. All those fines.
Yeah, and who cares?
Were great. No one. Except, well, now that's not true. Guys like Brent Bozell.
Okay. But my point is,
very much want to censor.
You and I think think it ought to be okay to say the F-bomb on. And by the way, I don't want to use it. You know that we're not limited by the FCC here, and I have two rules, and one of them is no swearing.
Yeah, and I don't use it.
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't either.
But there's something to said when again we need the smelling salts because someone said a word that every first grader uses on the school bus when no one's looking.
Right.
We probably have some.
That's a limitation of freedoms.
Issues there.
It's a limitation. When you get to stand up and say that word offends me.
Yeah, but the N-bomb isn't on that list. Saying slut's not on the FCC.
Why should
list?
it be?
And that's what caused Limbaugh problems, and that's what caused.
When he called that one woman.
Yeah, or when Glenn Beck said that the president had a deep-seated hatred of white culture. All right, that he's a racist, and all the advertisers fled then. Those aren't free speech issues. You should relish this. That's the free market working.
I don't have a problem with the free market, but I also don't think that that group of people get to play the offense card for words. Words are not offensive. How you hear them is offensive. It's your problem if you think I mean something destructive when I use the F-bomb or when I say the N-word or when whatever it is. I'm tired of people choosing to be offended and then manipulate that emotion to change the conversation.
I think that's part of how progress happens. I mean, we were talking about as part of the process to give women the right to vote or count blacks more than 3/5 of a person.
That's yesterday's news. Let's talk. There isn't a law in the United States that makes one person less than the other except the DOM.
No, but you still have issues. You still have systemic problems in this country.
Well, you have people with problems. As a people, we do not have a problem. Well,
there's 300 million plus of us, and enough of them have problems.
Yeah, but we, the people, don't have that problem. There is a difference. We, the people, not we, the person. If we, the person, has a problem with it, that's fine. But as a country, we've constructed every law, and we've destructed every law that made one color favorable over the other.
But the fact that systemic issues still remain. What did Lyndon Johnson say about the South when he signed the Voting Rights Act? Or the Civil Rights Act?
I don't know.
Said we lost it for a generation. The solid South, right, Democratic enclave, has been Republican ever since. When you look at even the map here in 2012, not ancient history, last week, what do you see?
Well,
that solid South.
Progressives like to think that anything is possible in the future. Progressives like to believe that because I have the right to say it, it must be the right thing to say. We're as a country, we're in a pendulum swing, and I agree with you, Bradshaw. It's coming your way. It hasn't even gotten to you yet, where it's starting to come back to me.
Just
I don't
wait.
think I will see it in my lifetime, and I pray to God someday you're sitting with your little puppy on your lap in your little rocking chair, drinking your iced tea, and you'll go, McCoy was right. Because now that pendulum has swung all the way back, and it's starting to destroy everything that this country worked for in the late 20th and early 21st century.
In your lifetime, even with your chronic health problems, you're going to live to see a completely different Republican Party. And what the pendulum is Texas. Because without Texas, there is no, as it stands now, Republican route to the White House. And forget, even Arizona or possibly Georgia becoming, non-Caucasian enough to appeal to, or to have appeal of the modern-day GOP. When Texas flips, and you're looking probably 2020, 1,500 Latinos a day reach the age of 18 in Texas. And unfortunately, they stopped making old people, back in the 1940s. They're not making new people built in 1948.
White people are reproducing under the rate of extinction.
You should really watch the movie Idiocracy.
I have. I think you made me once.
It's gone from Mike Judge comedy to soothsaying.
Here's the conversation I want to have with you when we're the next time we're on. Why has this country lost manufacturing?
Oh, that's it. I can answer that one in about 30 seconds.
It's because of the Democrats.
No, it's a race to the bottom.
No, it's because of
We're
the
never going to
Democrats.
outcompete people who pay, a Nike factory paying people a couple dollars a day. That's not a game.
Sure. Here's how you do it. We don't sell Nikes in America then.
Oh, you don't want to start a trade war.
Yes,
Actually,
I do.
the better option would be what Germany has done. Why does Germany have manufacturing?
I don't know.
Because they go high end. It's, do you want to make Nikes or slap together iPhones, or do you want to make Mercedes-Benzes?
We're never going to have the employment rate we had in this country ever before, because the Democrats have ruined manufacturing in this country. And I'll just leave it there, and that'll be something for you and I to discuss the next time you let me on.
Oh, man, that's going to be... All right. I'll be Mario, you be the barrel, we'll have a good time.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Thanks
Mac, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, gentlemen, and like lady. Anyway, email me, radiobradshaw@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw. Or just go to thebradshawshow.com. Show archives are there, everything you need. It's all online, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even, religious holidays. We'll get to the war on Christmas, I guess, tomorrow. So thanks for tuning in. We will reconvene 1:30 tomorrow for the Friday edition. Friday? Got to get down on Friday. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow here on The Bradshaw Show on Webcast One Live.